Welcome to this web lecture about designing the interaction for browsing and reading applications. Hypertext, invented decades ago already, blurs the difference between navigation and search, mostly in textual information. The web has made this the common way in which we now access information. Links are intended to give direct access to the next item that you want to read. This means that when designing hypertext, you have to predict which possible pages the user wants to go to next while reading the current page. There should be links to these pages. When it's not really possible to predict that, we can offer a search facility. So search is an integral part of any browser or browsing interface, because sometimes the user just needs to be able to express in a question what the next information should be. Menus and navigation aids can help when the text doesn't provide the right item that the user may want. So even though we may predict where the user wants to go to, the text on the page may not have a suitable place for a link to it. The interface should also offer history and bookmarking facilities to help users to come back to a place they have been to before. Besides navigation, we need to be able to read the information. Reading requires specific devices to reduce the eye strain. The e-paper that is used on e-readers, for instance, is a very good interface technology. We should also be careful about the page layout. Very often, designers of web pages insist on their pages having a specific layout, even though it may actually be better to have no fixed page layout and to adapt the layout to the device the user has. When you're reading books on an e-reader, typically the text adapts itself to the size of your device and the font size that you select. There should always be commands for navigation, so next and previous, and go back to an index, either through separate buttons or through things that appear like links or buttons on the screen. Hypertext is more than just clicking. When we click on a link, we actually have three aspects. There is the link anchor, which is like the label on a button. Then there is the destination of the link. This is the action defined and associated with this virtual button. The click is then issuing that command. The result of the command is a new page, and every new page with its embedded links is again a kind of menu that offers access to yet more information. So we can always look at a web page as being a menu with options, which are the embedded links. Unfortunately, hypertext involves a problem. The most common problem with hypertext is called lost in hyperspace. Through hypertext links, you can navigate from a web page to another web page which is anywhere in the structure of the website. What you can do to compare navigation in hypertext to navigation in the real world is to look at the use of a subway. If you are in New York City, in Manhattan, there is a mostly rectangular pattern of avenues and streets. And when you're walking along a city, you always know where you are. But when you randomly enter a subway station, you take the subway for a few stops and you exit again, you have no idea where in the structure of the city you end up with. Following hypertext links is like that. And some people get lost into the structure of a hypertext document very quickly. To overcome this problem, we offer navigation aids. A common tool is an accordion menu. Many websites, on the left, they have a menu. When you click on an item in the menu, a sub-menu appears inside the other menu. This is very common, and while we are navigating to different pages on the website, the menu provides us with context that shows us where in the document we are, where in the hypertext structure we actually are. Some websites have a more complex structure and a menu may not be enough. Then they also have tabs at the top for main parts or sections of the website. There's another problem with links, that is, the links often appear inside the text that you are reading. And when you see a link, it may distract you from the reading and it may be tempting to follow the link before you read the rest of the page. This leads to incomplete information that you have while browsing a website. So it takes a conscious effort to study the information on a page and then follow a link for which you have to decide which one to take, right, to go to the next page. Search is another problem because it isn't clear where a search will actually search. Often a web browser, for instance, has a function that lets you search within the current page. But when a website offers a search function, where is it actually going to search? Is that going to search the page, the website? And the question is, what is the website? Or is it going to search the whole web? Is it going to use Google to give you pages from anywhere? Let us look at a web page from the Eindhoven University of Technology. What I did is I went to the website of the Department of Mathematics and Computer Science. So I did not go to the TUE website, I went directly to the website of our department. And you can see that, right? It's the intranet, and you see mathematics and computer science, and at the top right, you see a text field that is called search. It's a reasonable question to ask, where is search going to search? Is it going to search within the Department of Mathematics and Computer Science, which is the website I went to, or is it going to search throughout all the websites of all the departments of the university? My impression is that it would be logical for the search to search within the department website, since I went to the department website. The reality is that the TUE website will actually search through the entire university, through all the websites that are part of the TUE intranet, and it ignores my entry point into that website. When we are searching, there is also a need to specify the focus on precision versus recall. Typically, when you are browsing the web and you're asking a question to Google, what is most important is precision. You get a list of, say, 10 search results, and you want all 10 of these results to be good results. And very often, you don't really care whether the actual search result consists of 100 good results or 1,000,000 good results. You only see the top 10 anyway, and the quality of these top 10 is important. That's precision. But sometimes, and more often when you are searching on a single site, you may want to find all the relevant information that exists. In that case, recall is the key. When a lawyer is searching through a site with court cases and needs to prepare for a new court case and wants to make sure that he finds all the relevant information, then recall, finding as much of the relevant results as possible, becomes more important. So it really depends on the application. Then there is the issue of bookmarking versus refinding. Years ago, everyone created long lists of bookmarks. You found an interesting site, you create a bookmark so that through a menu in the browser you can go back to that site. Nowadays, if you know that through 2 or 3 keywords on the Google site, you get that interesting site among the first 10 answers, you're not going to bookmark the website. You're going to ask the question to Google again. So bookmarking is gradually being replaced by search because search is working so well. Bookmarking is, of course, the only way to ensure that you find the page again. So bookmarking is only replaced by search if the search works well. Today, it actually does. For reading for longer terms, e-paper works better than actively lit screens. So even though an e-reader that uses e-paper is a fairly limited device, it's only useful for reading books. Many people still buy it because it is so comfortable to read. Even though the resolution may be the same on your latest iPad or other tablet, and the newest iPad isn't very heavy either, and it's a very nice screen, it is an actively lit screen, and the e-paper works better. Of course, screen resolution is important, and there's also been some research into that says that once you have a high resolution display, reading goes very well. And it doesn't have to be the high resolution that you see on the iPads. There is technology called anti-aliasing that we will also show in a different web lecture. That means that with a somewhat less high resolution, you can already create the illusion of a very, very sharp screen. Reading from paper or such a high resolution screen has been measured to be 30% faster than from a low resolution screen. So not only is it important to have a passive screen like e-paper, the resolution is also important. You have, without your knowledge, cognitive overhead in reading from a low resolution screen. Long lines are also a problem. Newspapers have performed a lot of research on the choice of the ideal column width. It is easier to switch while reading, to switch each time to the next line if the columns are fairly narrow. Now, the width of our screens is variable, and therefore the ideal width of a column can also be variable. Newspapers performed research on the column width because they know what the size of their paper is going to be. A website creator doesn't know what the size or the width of the browser window will be. So you have to be able to adapt to it, and perhaps when the screen is wide enough, automatically switch from single to double column format. While reading, we perform navigation. There should be links to an index, to references, and perhaps for reading also have swiping motion to flip between pages so that the navigation is a very comfortable experience. We need to have thumbnail presentations so that people can recall the visual image of a page. If you're presenting, for instance, a PowerPoint presentation and you have 50 slides, if you go to the overview page that shows thumbnails of all of them, you can very easily find a specific slide because you know what it looks like, even though you may not be able to read it from the thumbnail. This also works in e-readers. Especially pages with illustrations have a very specific look, and you can recognize that very easily. Also important, especially in hypertext, is to show progress. When you are halfway through reading a book in hypertext form, you don't know that you're halfway. We have a course text on hypertext, and it has 170 pages. And students have often been anxious after reading for some time to know how much more is there to come. What we have done to overcome this problem is to show progress information. You have read 67 out of 170 pages, so you know how much you still have to do. This is important for all interfaces where there is no physical way to know how far along in a task you currently are. Now, fortunately, the task for your final projects and presentations will not be that extensive, so you will not need to show us a progress bar. We hope that we can make good progress when trying out your interface anyway. Thank you for participating.